God's ways will never obstruct or never keep us from compassion. You see, you and I need to recognize that the compassion, doing God's ways are never in opposition to compassion. If you ever feel led because of what something you think the Bible says keeps you from acting in compassion, God is love. And whatever we do, if it's not love, it's not God. See, here, the religious community at this particular point were trying to say that no, you can't be healed on the Sabbath day. And Jesus attempted to call out the community at this. When we read the Gospels, you recognize Jesus asked religious leaders at points, he said, which of you, if you had an ox or a donkey that fell into a hole on the Sabbath day, would not get it out? What he was trying to point out is, do we actually care more about animals than we do about human beings who are made in the image and the likeness of God? Jesus attempted to point this out to the religious community at the time when he said, I am the Lord of the Sabbath. You see, what they had misunderstood. What was the rule of the Sabbath? Whatever you normally did for your occupation, God's saying, take a day off and don't do it 7 days a week. Remember that everything you have comes as a gift from God. Your ability to make your income, the ability to have what you are, it's a day of celebration. It's a day of reflection. It's a day of recognizing the need for rest in the human body. That God said that we were to suspend our normal work routine 1 day out of 7. That was the rule of the Sabbath. But just like everything else in life, sometimes we can make the things of God really complicated. And we can miss out because here's the point. Here's something. We miss the point. And it's important to recognize we miss the point when we don't know the why for the what. We miss the point. In other words, why did God provide that? Because what we need to recognize is that man wasn't created. Jesus said it this way. Man wasn't made for the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made for man. And we struggle sometimes as human beings because we tend to mix up and get tripped up by God's law. And sometimes we realize that man wasn't created to obey laws. Laws came along to aid and to help humankind. But whenever we see a law as an obstruction, we miss the point. We miss the realization, why did God provide this end? Why does God provide any aspect of instruction for us as his people? Because he always has something more in mind. And when you don't know the why, you can miss the point with the what. In other words, when you try to, and that's something that the church has been highly, highly guilty of at times. And the rest of the discourse here in John chapter 5 deals with religious leaders and their inability to understand or to know who Jesus is. And that's where I want to turn the point of this conversation, because here's the issue. In each of our lives, the question that we need to ask ourselves, do you want to be better? Because what you need to realize out of this story is that Jesus is always ready to get involved, but he will always provide an instruction. And it's your obedience to the instruction because of who he is that releases the power of God to bring change into your life. You have to ask the question, do I want to be better? Because are you willing to do whatever Jesus says? But the other question, where I want to turn the conversation this morning, is this. As us as followers of God, have we actually at times gotten in the way of God because we wanting to be true to a text, forget the people for whom the text was written to?